Hello colleagues, I'm Farley Joseph and I'm delighted to be able to share with you on this 2022 edition of the MIA Summit. This year I would like to share on the topic Public-Private Partnerships in Music Industry Education. The case, a mixed method study of the Music Industry Technical Camp in Trinidad and Tobago. As you may know from reading my bio, I'm an adjunct lecturer at the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine in Trinidad, and I'm also the founder of DianJen, a private music industry training organization also based here in Trinidad and Tobago. So I would like to start my presentation by outlining the international context in terms of all of the happenings that are taking place in the contemporary music industry. We know that there has been an explosion of innovation leading to development of new products and new services, and Murphy 2020 would have outlined those in his writings. We also see the streaming music model as the dominant model for monetizing recorded music, as SMUC 2021 would have outlined. That has led to sales of approximately 19 million per day, and we saw that in those the latest industry reports from the IFPI. Now, these developments in the international music industry means and has given rise to the need for specialist music industry education. As Hamill 2006 pointed out, managers and employees need relevant skills to capitalize on the potential value associated with technology. So in order for us to benefit from all these technologies in the music industry, we have to have the management expertise to accompany it. All right? In music, there has been an increasing professionalism and professionalization of the music industry, requiring more complex skill sets. And we saw that from O'Hara 2014. Kelman and Cashman 2019 went further to help us to understand that in developed countries, industry training is financed by governments or by relatively wealthy parents. While this may be the case internationally, we have to now understand the picture in the developing world. And our case today would be the picture in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, Trinidad and Tobago is the most southerly island in the Caribbean with a population of approximately 1.4 million persons. All right, in terms of our music industry, our live music sector is the most vibrant sector in the music industry. We are signatory to major treaties of the World Intellectual Property Organization, and several of those treaties have been embedded in local legislation. So we have a robust system of copyright and copyright collection here in Trinidad and Tobago. We have had government policies that identify the creative industries as a driver of growth, a driver of diversification away from natural gas and oil. I would have conducted a survey of programs that we have here, and currently our programs are academic programs. We have programs in traditional music specialization such as music performance. We also have music education. We have at the University of Trinidad and Tobago a music technology program. At the University of the West Indies, generic arts management training, postgraduate training in arts management. Now, Kelman 2020 went further to tell us that training has to be aligned to industry needs and industry requirements. In terms of shortcomings of some of our current programs, our programs exclude a segment of musicians who are unable to undertake full-time study or follow a rigorous schedule of training. Now, focus needs to be played on industry areas such as copyright, publishing and management, etc. And Hascheck 2011 outlined that in his paper. Now, we want to go a bit further and see the solution. So the beginning of the music industry technical camp. So the music industry technical camp started as a public-private partnership between DianJen Center for Music Industry Excellence, and we'll call that the Arts Organization, and we'll hear a bit about it further in my presentation. And then and the public sector agency, which is the government ministry, the Ministry of Community Development, Culture and the Arts. And the program is there to facilitate training of music practitioners in the business and technological aspects of the music industry. So music management and music production, all right, where there has been a dearth of training and training opportunities thus far in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, the program initially targeted persons 18 to 65 years, and it's an intensive music training opportunity that comprise 90 hours of training delivered through after-work sessions, and it's delivered over a 6-week period. Now, let's tell you a bit about the structure and the curriculum of that program, the Music Industry Technical Camp. It is comprised of a series of intensive workshops, and these are further classified into 3 modules. So the first module we had Managing the Music Business, which accounts for 40 hours of training, and here's where the participant would gain training on the business aspects of music. Then we have the home studio masterclass. The home studio environment is where a lot of persons in Trinidad, a lot of enthusiasts, a lot of producers actually create their productions. And then we have our third module, which would be professional development of music industry executives. And this module really focused on providing training on business protocol and business etiquette. So we don't only provide training on the business and the technology aspect, but we would also want to see a certain type of excellence in terms of how executives would carry themselves forward. So I want to tell you a little bit about the instructional strategies that we employed in the program. One of them being the situated learning approach, where we had training being aligned to participants' previously acquired skills and knowledge, and being, combined with the knowledge and the experience of experts. We also employed the flipped classroom approach, where pre-class materials would have been assigned in the form of videos, cases, different reading materials, which participants were required to study before coming to class. So when they actually get to class, here's where they are focused on expanding their knowledge through practical activities. Now I'll tell you a bit about the arts organization. So it's DianJen, the Center for Music Industry Excellence, and it was founded in 2013 by the researcher. The organization is registered with the Ministry of Legal Affairs here in Trinidad and Tobago as a limited liability company, and also registered with the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and the Arts, which is the relevant line ministry for arts in Trinidad and Tobago. Finally, DianJen is an approved RSL Award Center, vocational center, and authorized to offer training and assessment leading to level 3 certificates in music production, live events production, and of course, music business. So, why the MITC? Why the Music Industry Technical Camp? And why do we call it a public-private partnership? So as Cork et al. 2008 helps us to understand, the public-private partnerships are really collaboration between public and private actors, whereby they aim to address societal challenges in areas such as health and education. The government ministry serves to provide funding and marketing support to the arts organization, as well as contractual stipulations that the MITC remains free for participants. In addition to this, there was ongoing and monitoring and evaluation through site visits and status reports. So the arts organization was responsible for program design, execution and management, ongoing reporting of outcomes to the government ministry, and finally preparation and submission of final reports. Okay, so those would have been the roles of the arts organization. Let's talk about the significance of this study. So from 2014 to 2018, 89 participants would have graduated from this program. Several are employed as full-time and part-time professionals in the local music industry. It's also important to evaluate, since we did conduct this program, there was government involvement and so on in terms of financing this training. It's important to evaluate how graduates have used and continue to use this training as we seek to understand the efficacy of the program and of the training. Now, we continue further into the significance. We look at the literature, so current literature. So we have Haschek 2011, Kelman and Cashman 2019, and Smith 2019, where they highlight the current literature, right? So the current literature evaluates the role and importance of the music industry education in preparing future executives and public-private partnerships in general. Other literature, such as Andrews 2016, they examine generic arts education public-private partnerships. However, the need exists to understand the situation in the Caribbean, specifically the role of public-private partnerships in meeting the education needs of the music industry. Finally, the research can provide ideas on how future programs can be structured in terms of pedagogy, curricula, funding, accountability between public and private actors. And finally, the research is important for developing countries, especially small island developing states such as Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, and Lucia, and those other islands in CARICOM. So research questions. We have the first research question, which was a quantitative research question. The question asks, what is the relationship between training gain at the music industry technical camp and graduate achievement? Second question, which was our qualitative question, what learning takes place at the music industry technical camp? Third research question, to what extent does the music industry technical camp align with the objectives of the government ministry? Final research question, how does the learning that takes place at the music industry technical camp explain graduate achievement? So our final question is actually a mixed question. So in terms of our research design, this was a mixed method study, and we use a two-phase explanatory sequential mixed methods design. So if you look at there at the actual research design diagram, you would see that we had the first phase, which was a quantitative phase, and we created and administered a survey to our 89 graduates of the MITC. And then we had the relevant quantitative analysis techniques there. And using those techniques, we were able to develop, to understand some results that we would like to further follow up on in the qualitative phase. And those results, so we want to understand the impact of the MITC on current and future careers, the impact on future study, right, the impact on entrepreneurship, alignment with the government ministry, etc. And then the qualitative side, we conducted structured interviews with 5 participants from the quantitative study, as well as a structured interview with the chief administrator at the government ministry. And finally, we were able to see how the qualitative explain the quantitative data. Okay, so overview of results. The survey was completed by 26 graduates, representing 29% of the total cohort of alumni. Of the subjects, 20%, N5, were females, and 80%, 21, were males. In terms of the major age ranges, represented 58% were from the 25 to 34-year-old category, whereas 15% were from the 45 to 55-year-old category. Okay, and the roles, the major roles, respondents had an average of 12 years industry experience, plus or minus 7 years, with most responses coming from the class of 2016 and 2018. Okay, so we move on to the actual results. We saw the relationship between the training gain at the music industry technical camp, so research question 1, and graduate achievement. So we have here this, we actually conducted a Kramer's V analysis, which is a variation of the chi-squared test of association. This test was chosen because of the categorical variables that were used. It's showing the relationship between graduates applying their knowledge or their skills learned in the program to their daily lives, to the industry, and these variables. So the first one, we have better planning, improvement in music business and production skills, improvement in music business entrepreneurship, and new venture confidence. So when starting new ventures, how did participants feel about participating, starting new ventures in the industry? Points to note, the most significant relationship exists when a graduate's application of their learnings from the MITC to their careers is compared to improvements in the capacity to better plan their career, right, or represent their clients. We see a relationship between participation in the program and improvements in planning of careers. We also see by applying learnings from the MITC to their careers, the graduates experience enhancements to their music business and music production skills. And the third point to note is that there's an outstanding relationship when the learnings that graduates of the MITC apply to their careers are considered in relation to the improvement they experience to their business aspect of their careers. Okay? And finally, graduates of the MITC feel that they can succeed in new music business entrepreneurial ventures when applying whatever they learned to their careers. Okay, so research question 2, what learning takes place? And here we have an idea of the type of learnings that participants outlined that they would have gained from the program. So copyright and royalties, music publishing, performing rights organization, copyright infringement, digital music distribution. Those are some of the core areas. So the second one, what skills did you gain? So they said music production, networking, songwriting, basic mixing and mastering. So those were the skills gained. In terms of our third research question, to what extent does the music industry technical camp align with the objectives of the government ministry? So here we see the alignment based on the responses. So foster a spirit of entrepreneurship. So we had 9 alumni started formal businesses. 9 also added new and improved structures to their music business operations. All right, facilitate a transfer of cultural inheritance. That was one of the objectives of the government ministry as well. So we had 10 stating that they moved from music being their hobby to music being a part-time job. Okay, 1 moved from it being a part-time job to a full-time job, and 21 felt that they can teach what they learned, whereas 12 pursued further studies in music and in music industry. Okay. Thirdly, the objective of the government ministry here again to equip participants with skills to manage their own or another's business, artistic business. Okay, 17 felt that they did in fact gain the skills needed to succeed in their enterprises, and 16 felt better prepared to represent their clients. Formation of cultural partnerships. So of course, 5 seasons of the music industry technical camp completed in partnership with the government ministry and 89 graduates. Okay, so here we see that alignment between government objectives and the outcomes of the program. So we look a little bit further at some of the quotations, and we have one from the cultural program coordinator, the government ministry, who is Miss Jamie Bagu. She would have said that in terms of talking about, the goals of the program and the vision for the program and so on, she said, we wanted a move from music being a hobby to something they can earn money from. It didn't have to be their full-time career, but it had to be something substantial. So there we see the thinking behind creation of the MITC and the partnership with the government ministry and the arts organization. Earl Brown, alum of 2016, said, I gained greater clarity about copyrights, neighboring rights, royalties, and information on many more artist revenue streams. Yeah? So now we switch to research question number 4, which deals with how does the learning that takes place at the music industry technical camp explain graduate achievement? And this is our mixed question. So we conducted a multivariate regression analysis using beta coefficients for categorical variables, and we came up with this model here. Now, the key points to understand is that the propensity of alumni to apply their new knowledge and skills to their careers is dependent on the number of years experience they possess in the industry, enhanced confidence gained when approaching new industry ventures, associated improvements to the business aspects of a career, and better planning of their career post-music business, post the MITC. Now, the model predicts that for every point that alumni improve with respect to each of the independent variables, their application of learnings from the MITC to their careers also improves. The data fits the model moderately, right, as the R-squared value explains 63% of the variance in the dependent variable, and the dependent variable being application of the learnings from the MITC to careers. Now, we can look a bit at the qualitative here again, and we had Ms. Chanel White, graduate from 2018, stating that the MITC encouraged me to become more serious about my songwriting. I pursued this by completing further studies in music business with DianJen in 2020. So we see that, yes, participation in the program would have spurred persons to go further studies. Right? We had Isaac Farrell, class of 2014, stating that when I pursued the MITC in 2014, I was an enthusiast and music was my hobby. Music then became my part-time job, as I later became a music producer working with upcoming and established artists. Okay? So we switch to the discussion here at this point in time. So we have relevance of the curriculum. So what we see is relevance of the curriculum is the foundation of all the results. So the curriculum must be relevant, and it must be aligned to both the needs of the alumni and aligned to the government ministry, the role and objectives of the government ministry. We can also see that the success of the music industry technical camp was hinged largely on rigorous legal instruments, as well as ongoing monitoring and evaluation, and those reporting requirements. Thirdly, the MITC is a case study which delineates the potential of a non-university based structured program in music industry studies to positively impact the careers of musicians and music business entrepreneurship. We also see the flipped classroom approach coming in here and supporting the intensive nature of the program. 90 hours of instruction over 6 weeks, that's quite a lot to get done in the classroom, but with the flipped classroom approach, we were able to actually have additional work being done online. The situated learning context allows participants to focus on developing critical music industry knowledge and skills through structured curricula and engagement with experts. If we move on, we see that this can be viewed as an application of the work by Kelman 2020, who made the point that educational institutions need to rethink practices in music teaching and learning while investigating various proposed music industry education models. Okay, so we see that this can be an application of her work, Kelman 2020. We move further. The MITC presents an argument that governments can engage in public-private partnerships with private sector firms and attain their planned objectives through the institution of an appropriate accountability framework. So the PPP is built on appropriate accountability. Yes, and we also see, as a result of this research, the power of mixed methods as an approach to researching issues in music industry education. Alright, so as you know, the research approach facilitates triangulation through the convergence and corroboration of correspondence of results from the qualitative and quantitative strands of research. So we see the power of mixed methods. So I just want to talk a little bit about limitations. You know, we only had 26 out of 89 graduates that participated in the study, right? But the fact remains that there were 89 graduates overall. And the mixed methods approach was employed here to not only derive the quantitative data, but to get personal feelings and emotions and so on from those participants to help us to understand and develop a deeper appreciation of the data. The multivariate regression model also only explains 63% of the dependent variable, but of course, again, that is significant, and it still suggests, add some value to our study. Thirdly, return on investments, right? In terms of future studies, we can look at the return on investments in terms of financial return on investments for the government, ministry, and the arts organization. We can also go on to talk about or to extend the MITC into the online world as we venture post-COVID. Thus far, it has been physical classes, but of course, it would be interesting to see how things change in the online world. Finally, we have the incorporation of international certification. It would be interesting to see how incorporating international certification, probably with RSL awards or some other third-party organization, can actually impact the enrollment on the program and add some value in terms of the graduates and what they hope to achieve and so on. As I close, I take this opportunity to wish you all a very special and successful MIA Summit 2022, and I look forward to fielding questions during the final presentations on May 16th and 17th. I look forward to hearing from you and to studying some of your research and learning some of your ideas as well. Thank you very much and take care.